off. Okay, with Tizane, I'd like to thank you for taking the time out to come and speak to us at Rockfiend today, and
Thank you.
appreciate that. Before we get into the new album, do you want to give us a little bit of background about how you got started, what got you into playing, and maybe bring us up to the release of the Cherry album?
Um, well, I got started my whole life. I mean, my mum's a singer, so I was
Right.
very much brought up around music. And she helped push my confidence, would take me to open mics and stuff. And then I went to college and studied music, and then I dropped out, and I just started making my own music, and that was what became the Cherry album. Some of those songs in that album I made when I was like 14. So um yeah, and then over time it sort of developed. I met some people, some really cool musicians. We started writing together, and that developed into the new album, and that is the sound we have now.
That's cool, because Cherry album's very different to Forever Is Nothing. I mean, Cherry put more into sort of an indie folk type thing. It sort of put me in mind of sort of Laura Vera's, Phoebe Bridges, more sort of stuff
Yeah.
like that. Forever Is Nothing, which is your new album, it's got a lot harder sound. I know the publicity calls it dark pop, but I think it's more leaning in towards alternative rock. Uh,
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
looked at a few dark pop people, and there are much more. The emphasis is more to the pop side, whereas
Mm.
I see that you've got a lot more of the rock side of it. That's like bits of Skunk Anansi and people like that coming through in the phrasing. So, do you want to give us a bit more background on how the change came about, because it is quite a distinctive change?
It's funny because when I was doing the Cherry album, the thought of rock music, well, I mean, rock music's always been cool. Like I love every genre. I
Mm.
appreciate everything, but I could never picture myself doing that. I was always like, no, it's all about the production. It's because I don't know, I just didn't want. I feel like with the production side of things, because I self-produce, so all of the production, you can literally do endless things of it. You can make whatever sound you can imagine. Obviously, with live instruments, they are amazing. I've been playing piano, guitar, drums, all of it my whole life as well. But it's so different to the production world, you know? But
Yeah.
so I was sort of, I could never imagine myself doing it. But after sort of meeting my band, and they're just all so amazing. And then I sort of, the reason why I think people struggle with the genre, they say it's dark pop or alternative rock. I think it's because we sort of mix the two genres, so it still has all of those production like pads and synths and sounds, but
Yeah.
it's also very heavily layered guitars, live drums, all that. Um, but yeah, just over time, I sort of, it opened my eyes. I think it was just literally just meeting the band and just discovering the way that they work and how they play and what they write and stuff and what they enjoy, and it just all mushed together with what I like and what I write, and it became Tizane.
Yeah. So, what would you describe your sound as?
I would probably lean more towards the alternate rock side of things. Definitely alternative, because it's a bit like hard to nail exactly what genre it is, but
Yeah.
um yeah, definitely more of a rock sound. I feel like it's got sort of poppy melodies and like catchy little bits that
Yeah.
are more pop, but I'd definitely go more alternative rock.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, I mean, I got the album to review, and I was listening
Yeah,
to it, and I was definitely picking up lots of various interests into, I've forgotten the word now, influences.
there you go.
And I was, even things like some of the drumming put me very much in mind of how Stuart Copeland would drum for the Police. There's that kind of almost
Right.
reggae type drumming going on a few
Yeah.
tracks. Uh,
Wow, that's really cool that you picked that up.
yeah.
My drummer will be really happy to hear that.
No, it's definitely coming through. And then there were some elements on some of the tracks. You were almost sort of drifting into prog rock. You know, you
Mm.
could see that sort of, whether that was the more production side of it coming in, the extra elements. So
Yeah.
given that you change your sound from Cherry to Forever Is Nothing, I mean, who are your influences? Who inspires you musically?
Um, it's funny because growing up it was always sort of Eva Cassidy, Fleetwood Mac, Kate Bush, people like that, and I think that's where I got my voice from. Sort of those sort of influences with the softness and the dynamics, sort of
Mm-hmm.
playing. I love playing with emotion, with lyrics and delivery and stuff like that. And then after like growing up, Paramore, massive influence. Paramore, they are incredible, and I feel like Paramore really was a big influence. And yeah, it's hard. That's a hard question. There's so many influences. I take influence from everywhere, literally every sort of music, because I'm such a, like, music is such a passion of
Yeah.
mine. Every single genre, even like rap, stuff like that, which I would never do myself and couldn't do. I take inspiration from, and the writing styles and literally everything, but definitely sort of Kate Bush, Fleetwood Mac, Paramore, that sort of side of things. And recently, it's obviously become a bit more rocky influences. But yeah,
Yeah, I quite good that because I think I mentioned Kate Bush and Paramore in the when I did the review, so that's definitely
awesome.
something
There
that
you go.
comes through. Yeah, um, I read of somewhere that you've considered Nick Drake to be quite an influence.
Yeah, I think like I said, just everyone.
Yeah,
Literally, the list goes on. I could name someone that, most people have never heard of, or someone from the 70s or the 80s, and then I
yeah.
could name someone like Mac Miller, or someone, completely the other end. But yeah, literally everyone.
I think it's always good to be open to influences and hearing different things. I mean, a lot of the bands that you look at and had great longevity through their careers are bands that were able to adapt and change, or even within one
Yeah,
record have lots of different sounds. And so I think people like Queen and bands like that, you could
yeah,
never
yeah,
pigeonhole them from song to song on an album. I mean, they could go from something really heavy to almost vaudeville within the space of a
yeah.
record. I think it's always good if you've got influences.
Yeah, I think with influences it's so important. I mean, when making the Forever Is Nothing album, I have on my head, I just realised I've got
Did
this
notice
beanie
that,
on,
yeah.
free promo. Um, yeah, when making the Forever Is Nothing album, I've always aspired to have a very diverse album. So I wanted the idea of, older people to enjoy it, and, 14-year-olds to enjoy it.
Yeah,
But that was so hard because I tried to do that with Cherry back in the day, and it was so hard to like input all of my influences and every genre that I like and everything I enjoy into one album. So hard. But with Forever Is Nothing, I think the band, I have the band mainly to thank for this, is keeping that significant sort of sounds that we've got in all of the songs, whilst being able to do, a ballad and then a complete rock track. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
it's not too diverse, but it's there, and you can hear those influences, but it's still unique in a way. I don't just sound like, we're not just trying to sound like one person.
Mhm.
We're taking influence from everyone, and I love it. I love the band. They're just amazing.
Yeah, because it's not an album where you sort of feel like after three or four tracks you're hearing the same song over and over again.
Yeah,
There's variation all the way through between each track, and
thank
it's
you.
good like that. It keeps people listening to the whole thing rather than just sort of cherry picking as they go through. So you've
Yeah, yeah.
gone from being writing songs on your own, so as a 14-year-old, and now you're in a band environment. So how does that work for you now as a creative process?
That's such a good question. I got asked a similar question a while ago, and it's, yeah, I think it's such an important change that I don't think a lot of people realize. Going from, because obviously I'm a really creative person, and as I said earlier, like, music is my whole life. I love music. I don't know what
Yeah,
I'd be without music. Um, so going from being 14 and learning how to produce and record and getting everything I could together to do that, to now being working with lots of other people, it was really hard. It was such a hard change, because I think personally a lot of creative people are very, very independent with what they're doing, because you want, you know, if I've got an idea in my head, I want to create that idea exactly as it is in my head. So with other people involved, it, you know, it knocks that process. And I did struggle with it a lot, you know, when I was a teenager, like 17, 18, I really struggled with that. But I think personally, I think it's just all about meeting the right people. I've worked with other musicians in the past that I didn't quite click with, and I really struggled to allow their input how I should and how I wanted to. But after meeting my band, it was just so natural, and everybody, yeah, it was just such an amazing experience. But it was definitely a bit tricky before I met the band.
Yeah, it feels like with the band, the people you've got, they're more working with you, whereas previously people were trying to pull you into their direction to do what they wanted you to do.
Yeah, I mean, in with people that I've worked with in the past, it was very much like I want to do a really cool guitar solo now, or I want to do a really cool drum solo or something. And it wasn't with me. I think my like something that I've always loved about writing was having the emotions of the lyrics and the vocals, having it completely followed by the emotion of the music.
Yeah.
So the music's almost like, without the lyrics, you could tell what that song sort of is about almost. And I think it's quite hard to find people that, you know, work in the same way as you and can understand these weird little things that you like. So yeah, definitely in the past I've had it where people have pulled me in a direction that I don't want to go, definitely pulled me down a rock route, which is funny because now I'm sort of in a rock route and I love it. But in the past it was sort of like, oh, it's not concentrating on the emotion and the dynamics and the meaning. It wasn't concentrated. It was just music, which is cool, but it wasn't what I wanted. So yeah, definitely meeting these guys, and they definitely are working with me, and yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems to be paying off for you, because the Forever's Nothing single, I mean, you got airplay right across the board. You mean national radio, and rock music hardly ever breaks onto national radio now. That must have felt good.
Yeah, I mean, despite it being like the fact that rock music and that sort of style doesn't get on there, despite all of that, it was insane. Like,
Yeah.
I remember hearing the news that Joe Wiley was going to play it, and me and the band were just like, oh my god, I literally can't believe it. It was insane. And but as you said, you know, that this style music doesn't get as much airplay as it
No,
deserves. Yeah, it's
true.
all pop, which is pop is great. I love it, and but it's very electronic at the moment. It's all sort of dancey stuff, which is amazing. So it was really cool that they picked our song to be in with all that stuff. And it was like 6 weeks. I think it was on BBC Radio 2, which was
Yeah.
crazy. We were happy about 1 week, and then 6 weeks go by and it's still being played. And oh, it was insane. It was such a surreal experience.
Yeah, because it's one thing to get picked up by genre radio like Planet Rock or Kerrang or something, but to actually get
Yeah,
on something, as you say, it's very homogenous at the moment, mainstream national radio, and there's a certain style of song that they seem to prefer. So yeah, it was well done.
thank
Congrats.
you.
Maybe hopefully it opens the door for other people as well, because there's a
I
lot of
hope
good
so.
rock
Yeah,
bands out there that you should be getting more airplay and promotion than they're getting at the moment. So
big
you
time.
know, maybe you'll be a door opener.
I hope so. I meet so many bands that are just incredible, you know, because when I'm gigging around Camden, um, the venues are, you'll either be in like an amazing venue with so many people, or you'll be in like a tiny venue, which is like fine as long as I'm performing, I'm happy. But
Yeah.
a lot of the time, you come across bands that have about two people come to watch them, which I've been there, but they are amazing, like
Mhm.
insane. They're all so incredible, and you can just see the enjoyment as well, which is so nice. So I really do hope that us, you know, stepping forward and getting on the radio, things like that, really, I really want it to help other bands.
Yeah, it would be good. There is a lot of good bands out there, and they just need the breaks and the doors to open for them.
Yeah,
And I mean, there's plenty of venues if the bands can get out there, but it's just getting those
It's
promotions and
hard.
getting the attention onto these sort of people and away from sort of the radio friendly acts. You talked about playing venues there, so it was one of the sort of side questions I had down. What would be the best venue you've played, and what would be the worst venue that you've played so far?
Um, God, I don't know. There is a venue that I played and I didn't like it, but I don't remember. Actually, no, I don't remember the name. There was two. One bad one was due to the fact that it was literally underground.
All right.
So you couldn't play to the streets. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of the time the people can hear you from outside and they'll come in and they'll be like, "Oh, it's a bar. Let's go in." Then they'll hear your music and they'll be like, "Oh, what's going on there?" But it was literally underground and the stage was about the size of my bed and it was honestly tiny. The sound was all right, to be fair. It was quite cool. It was very echoey because it was underground, so it was quite cool. But then recently we did sort of a gig that it wasn't promoted too much. But the venue was I think they just started doing live gigs, and I don't know if they were expecting sort of us to come in. I think
Yeah.
they would have fit more with like the sort of jazzy, soulful stuff, you know, while people are eating and having a drink, that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
we come in and it was just the sound wasn't the best, but it is what it is. You know, I enjoy what I do. The best venues, there are countless. There are so much they overweigh the worst venues in
Yeah.
Camden, like by a lot. Yeah, they're all really good. New Crossing in Camden has really good sound. I highly recommend they're pretty good for booking any band, so you don't have to have like recognition. So if you are sort of a new fresh band,
Yeah.
go and have a look. But yeah, there's so many good ones. It's countless.
That's good to hear though, actually, because it means it
Yeah,
encourages people to get out, and audience wise as well, good venues, people will come along and see small acts and that. And I think a lot of people, with the price of like your megastar tickets, your Springsteens and your Elton Johns being hundreds and hundreds of pounds, there's a
yeah,
lot of people now looking at the smaller venues, the grassroots, the up and coming bands to go and see that, where the tickets are more affordable in the current climate,
yeah.
and discovering a lot of young bands. Sort of keeping in the venue vein, what would be your dream venue to headline?
I don't know. Literally, I've always loved the thought of opening for a band, like a big band. I think that would be so cool. Because I think that doing obviously that is so hard to get that opportunity, but I just feel like as we were sort of mentioning about how it is really difficult um nowadays as sort of a rocky band
Yeah.
to get out there, um doing something like that just in front of an audience that isn't there to see me, but we can sort of win over hopefully. I just find that so cool that like I don't know, I just
Who would you like
literally
that band to be? Who would you think you'd like to open for?
God, I think bands like the 1975 where they're not too rocky,
Mhm.
they're not too like we don't sound too much like their style, they're still a bit poppy, so that it's sort of what the audience would like but also a bit different.
Yeah.
Bands like that I think, or obviously Paramore would be so sick to open for. But I think there's so many honestly, but venue wise I think festivals would be cool, like Glastonbury. That would be
Yeah.
insane. One day, fingers crossed.
Oh, you never know. Just got to keep believing in these things. I'm trying to think of a question. What's your most useless talent? There we go.
Oh, that's a really good question. I'm one of I'm really weird, so I can like when I get my mind set on literally anything, I'll spend days perfecting it, and then I'll
Yeah.
just never think about it again. What is my most use? I've got so many useless talents. Um, Oh God, that's such a good question. I don't even know if I can give you an answer. There's definitely a lot of
Yeah.
useless talents. I used to actually be able to squirt water through the gap of my front teeth.
Okay.
That's a useless talent. That's a perfect
That's
answer.
pretty useless. That's a
Yeah,
good
I feel
answer.
there's probably more that, like, 100%, there's more that are also useless and would probably fit your question better. But the
Yeah,
only one I can think of is like squirting water at my sister through through the gap of my teeth outside. But yeah.
brilliant, like that. So what happens now for Tizane? What's the next steps?
Um, to be honest, it's not really set in stone, I guess. I mean, we're just writing, just gonna keep writing, hopefully for the next album. Gonna keep releasing music, 100% gonna be gigging loads. Yeah, just gonna keep going, really. I
Yeah,
mean, sort of gonna, now the album's out, I want to give it time. I don't want to just bombard people with like loads of singles and stuff. I want to sort of give it time to exist, and then we'll probably start releasing more music.
brilliant. And you tend to take any of the gigs sort of further afield around the UK?
Yeah, we do. We take what we're offered, really. I mean, it's really hard nowadays with gigging. Sort of in Camden, it's not too tricky for us because, I've been performing in Camden since I was 18 and I'm now 22. So they sort of know of us there.
Yeah,
Um, but it is tricky to get sort of to, like, say we wanted to go to Brighton. We did a gig up Brighton recently, actually. It is a bit harder to get gigs in other places, but literally we love to go on a road trip.
yeah.
It's like the most fun ever. So anywhere really, we'd go anywhere.
Well, hopefully you'll get up to Scotland one day and I'll get a chance to come and actually see you play live. That'll be good.
I hope so.
Yeah. If you had one message to send out to your fans, what would that be?
Um, I think I think a big message. I feel like a lot of people would answer this being like, "Thank you" and all that, which
Yeah,
I am very, very grateful for people who listen to my music and enjoy it. But I think with when it comes to wanting to be a musician and or just enjoying music in general, I just want people to know that there is literally no excuse to not do it. The only person holding yourself back is you. When I started music, I started recording it on my phone. Like, I didn't have all the stuff. You don't need it all. If you enjoy it, do it. If you think you're a bad singer but you enjoy it, do it. Just have fun, enjoy life, do what you love, and don't hold yourself back.
that's a good message. I like that.
Thank you.
Got a bit of time. I'll ask you this question. I got the promo pack for the album, and
Oh yeah.
it's got a very dark album cover in black and red. And between
Oh
that
yeah.
coming out and the album being released, you seem to have come up with a completely different album cover.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. Um, that was that's funny that you mentioned that. We didn't have an album cover. We had ideas, and then we were playing around with AI.
Right.
Which, yeah, and we sort of were half-hearted about it because we thought it was so incredible and amazing that we could just put in random words and it would just develop this beautiful image. But also, as creative people, we were also sort of like, I don't know if I want to. Like, I think I'd rather go for a human to do it,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
So we sort of had that there, and then we sort of agreed on it, kind of. Then we started doing stuff with it, and like we did the promo pack with it and stuff. And then um, someone, a mutual friend who's amazing at all graphic designing and all that stuff. Um, my guitarist Charlie just had this idea, and he was like, "Why don't we try this?" So he messaged his friend, and he come back with the Now album cover, and
Yeah.
we were like, "Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's a lot more light-hearted. It's a lot more us, and it fits the music really well, I think." But yeah, that's the story.
Yeah. It's definitely a better cover. I mean, the other one was dark and it captured that maybe emotional resonance of the music, but you do have to squint at it a bit to try and figure out what you're looking at. Whereas the new one, it's clear and it probably
Yeah,
catches more attention with the style of it. So I just,
yeah. I think with the black and red one, I think, come across a little bit too grungy for me.
Mm-hmm.
It just made it, I feel like that's the cover of a grunge album. Obviously,
Yeah,
we're not. We have hints of grunge, I think, but we're not grunge. So I think having the more clearer and light-hearted cover was
yeah,
the best, the best
it
move.
definitely from a marketing point of view, it looks a lot clearer and it does come over
Thank you.
better. Yeah.
Thank
Um,
you.
Couple of sort of silly questions I'd like to come to at the end and that. It's Saturday night. What sort of music would you put on for a Saturday night? What would you be listening to?
Um, I have a playlist that I put on, and it has about 10 songs on it. It's not got many on at all. But like the enhance thing on Spotify where you just click enhance and it just
Yeah,
adds in loads of random
yeah,
songs. I love doing that. So on a Saturday night, I have my playlist. I can't give you a straight answer because my playlist is so random. It's
yeah,
literally everything in there, and it is literally just like 10 songs, and I literally know them word for word because I've listened to this playlist so much, and there's only 10 of them. But then I give it the little enhance, and I get to discover some newer artists. But it's probably it's very diverse. There's bits of rock in there. There's bits of not pop, but sort of alternative pop and some stuff like that. I think, yeah.
yeah. That's a good answer. So the obvious follow up to that is, what would it be on a Sunday morning?
um, I have two playlists actually. I have a chill playlist as well. So normally any morning, as I'm
Yeah,
like getting ready, I'll chuck on the chill playlist, which is a little bit jazzy, a little bit soulful, very calming. I just feel like it helps wake me up like
yeah,
slowly.
yeah.
So yeah, just
ease,
a bit of that sort of stuff.
ease into the day sort of thing.
Exactly.
Brilliant. Um, I'm conscious I don't want to cut us off in the middle of the interview and that, but if you could collaborate with anybody on a piece of music, a song, who would it be? Dead or alive? Who would be your dream collaborator?
Dead or alive. I think personally, if if it was just me, no band, then it would be Mac Miller, which is so weird, but he was so musical. I just feel like that would be so cool to sort of have a writing session with him and
Yeah,
collaborate. But me and the band, I literally don't know. They're all so the thing is the band are all so good. Like I couldn't think of a guitarist to collaborate with because Charlie, my guitarist, is so incredible, and
yeah,
my drummer is, and my bass player, they're all just amazing. So I couldn't answer that. They're just all so good. It's such a if I had like a long discussion with the band, I'm sure we could come to a conclusion of one artist.
yeah.
But they're not here, so
No,
yeah,
that's a compliment to your band, really, isn't it? Because you can't
they're
see
brilliant.
parts working with them, so
Yeah, yeah, they're brilliant.
that's a big compliment to them. If you weren't doing music, what would you be doing?
What like music at all, or if I wasn't
Yeah,
just singing
yeah,
music at all? Oh my goodness. I don't know. I probably still something creative, maybe art or something. See my little easel there that has
yeah,
nothing on it.
yeah. I was
Um,
looking at that. My
yeah,
art's all
probably
digital.
some. I like digital art as well. I do all that stuff. I just love creativity. I love writing. I
Yeah,
love writing stories and books and poetry. So hopefully something to do with that. But obviously they're all really hard careers. So
yeah.
realistically, it would probably be like working with animals or something where there's something like cute involved, like a little puppy or something. But other than that, yeah, if it could be anything, it would definitely be some sort of art.
Something creative.
Yeah.
Okay. I just got the time running out warning, so
Yeah.
before we get cut off, I'm going to do the official thank you for taking the time to speak to Rockfiend Tizane. We appreciate it, and good luck with the career, and we look forward to hearing some new music from you.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You're very welcome.